What is up? What is an intentional community? Well, I've been living in one for the last 3 weeks, and I want to give you a little tour and tell you a little bit about my experience here. This is the garden in Portugal. It's called the garden. It's about an hour from Porto. It's about 20 acres of land, and there's about, I've probably been here with at least 150 people in the last 3 weeks, but the festival that was here the first few days ended, and since then it's been an average of about 30 people here at any time, somewhere between 20 and 35 maybe. And it has a lot of people staying here for multiple weeks, and it's been a great journey. It's surprisingly growthful time. This is the teepee field where I live. There's also bell tents, which are 4 to 5 meters wide and pretty damn sweet. And then there are some cabins, and then there's indoor brick built buildings with double bed and shit. And it's some people bring their own tent, and they can stay for free, but they pay just for meals and contribution. I guess I'm not sure how they describe the fee payment, but you pay a weekly fee here of 190 euros, and you can stay for 7 days and get 3 meals a day and other snacks and stuff. And yeah, we're all living together as a group, and it's a wonderful balance of a lot of silliness and play and feeling part of this united group of people. We're like nowhere near anywhere really. There's a little village, a little walk away, but we are very isolated on this 20 acres of land, and people go out and do stuff, and they went to a little festival in the local town, and go to the local supermarket and go to bars. We went to someone's house the other day who one of their residents had met in a cafe, watched the Euro final with an American couple and their kids. But here I spent almost all my time in the last 3 weeks around these grounds, and the first 2 weeks were hard. I felt sick. Was that what I was going to talk about first? Yeah, what's my arc been? Well, first 2 weeks I was sick, and just checking the cameras on, and I came in with like a really heavy cough, and then I got sick with something else, and finally after it sent me into quite an introverted space, and I was just like trying to experiment with being comfortable having a different level of extroversion than I'm used to. I'm usually very confident and outgoing, and the first 2 weeks I felt really low energy, and I didn't want to force myself to try and be what this story of who I am is, that I'm this extrovert and I'm confident and I connect with people, and so I let myself sink into the background a bit, and that was interesting. I think it was what I needed. I felt a real strong need to recover from what I was feeling. Hi. And so this lane, I'll do a little descriptive detour. That lane goes back down to the tents where some people dry their laundry, and this is one of the gates to the premises. You need a code to get in, a code to get out, and laundry over here. And we've got this little path to the swimming pool. Great place to sunbathe and to swim and to roll around on the ground. And yeah, so my first 2 weeks were hard, and then most people left the premises last weekend on Saturday. I think a lot of people have been here for quite a little while, but I felt some desire to get out, which makes sense. And I felt some of that, but I also felt a real need to be alone and just finish processing like that period I'd been through that felt a little bit difficult because I'm not used to being so introverted, and I felt disconnected. And I came here actually, and there was nobody. Nakedness is welcome on the grounds. I was just naked in the sun. It was a beautiful day, probably a little bit warmer, similar weather to today. And rolled around on the ground and did some deep emotional processing, and thought about some painful things in my life, and cried hard for, I think I cried, it felt really hard, probably like 15 minutes, and it was surprised me. I didn't expect that to come up, and I noticed that I'd been telling myself a story that I wasn't feeling deep sadness about my father not talking to me for a long time. And I allowed myself to feel the sadness and see what that was like. And it felt good to let it through. and I feel like a healthy relationship to what's going on in my life with relation to that relationship now. And I did before, but there was like a pressure valve that was in there, and it needed to pop, and that felt great as it was happening, and it felt like to really allow oneself to just feel into sadness. Then it actually does it hurts in a different way. Then it doesn't hurt in a way that feels bad. It hurts. It's sad, and sadness is welcomed. And when you can just really allow it and really look at it and embrace it, rather than not allowing yourself to see the sadness. Whoa, it feels so healthy, and it lets out the pressure, and then the sadness actually just fades back again, and it'll probably build up again at another point, but it'll be a bit different, and because you're changing and we're changing, the world's changing. So that was my Saturday. And then I think before that and after that, I was starting to become more extroverted in this community, and I feel a lot more connected to people in the last week or so, and it's been really, really nice. And been playing music with some people throughout my time here. Probably the most I've played guitar and sung for quite a long time, probably at least a couple of years, maybe longer, and that's been really nice. And had some jams, had some really nice duetting and singing with multiple voices in the woods. Sunday was really, really nice. And somebody coming out of their little teepee here. And and then this week I've been back to work. Last week I got really more productive on starting to write this book it's a guidebook to get out of loneliness. And it's like I'm trying to map the whole, at least as I see it, the multi-step process that is the road from being completely involuntarily alone, no connection, and no even knowledge of how to get out of that, all the way through beginning to make friends, building healthy relationships, and getting to a life where you can have all the connection and community and friendship you need, and feel good in your alone time when you need it, and just have the balance and nourishment that is possible with great friendship. And there's so much that is possible with great friendship, and I meet a lot of people who don't have that, and it's a skill, and it can be learned. And however much one feels stuck on that journey, the next step is always possible. And so I felt a bit self-conscious noticing my friend behind me there. But there's what am I going to say? I've lost my track. I feel interesting. Yeah, I just feel a bit shy talking on the camera still with people around, especially people I know. And so that's interesting. Noticing that coming from my body right now. This is one of the core skills in relating, is noticing when things are happening in you and making it so easy to not let them become conscious. And now that I'm conscious of those nerves, I can just let it go. Notice that I don't need to hold on to that, and maybe I'll think back to it later and do a bit of processing around it and think about like, why is it that I feel so nervous when somebody I know who I don't think will judge me is walking behind me when I'm making a video, and I'll see if I can work out the mechanisms there. I think there's two approaches one can have that work in tandem. One is understanding the mechanisms of our personal ecosystem of emotions and reactions and outward behavior and relational patterns, understanding the mechanics of that, what happens and what has happened historically for me. And I think the other is just building present moment awareness, being present to what is now, noticing through practice more clearly what's happening externally and internally, being able to have a broader awareness of different people interacting around, having a broader awareness of one's own thoughts, because thoughts happen sometimes that we don't fully notice them, but they change our behavior. And that's so interesting. We can actually just notice them a bit more clearly, and then we can choose to do what we want with them, whether that's let go of them or work with them or let them consume us even. And so I'm walking back up here because I saw someone coming and I feel nervous to talk on the camera. So that's that. Let's see what else I was going to say. I'm just going to talk about the community a little bit more and how it's this isolated entity geographically. It's an international community. There's people from many, many different countries here. But it's almost entirely speaking English. And it's isolated from the rest of the world. The nearest big city is Porto, an hour away. And there's definitely this balance when I think about where do I want to live and what kind of community do I want to build my life in long term. I felt before that I really want to have connection to like civilization, to be in a town or city or something. And now I notice just a little bit of there's pros and cons to that as I feel into living here. It's like as the 3 weeks I've had here so far have gone on, I felt more and more comfortable not being in touch daily or even barely at all with the world outside here. I don't know. Maybe I don't know if that could be satisfying long term for like years or the rest of my life, or if I'll get itchy feet and feel this need to have access to a wider pool of people. That's certainly something I've noticed that I really like, and the happiest times of my life I've had a romantic partner, a close group of friends, a sort of smaller mid-sized group of like 15 friends or something, part of a wider network in a big city. And so all these different options for like connection in different kinds of domains are there, and I think that's really nice. I just don't know if it's necessary. I know I look genuinely unsure really. My friend was just telling me about this stuff that he grows in New Zealand. No, he doesn't grow, he finds in New Zealand. We have it here in Portugal too. What else was I going to talk about? Attunement. What is attunement? I think attunement is a thing I've been trying to work on as much as anything in my life for the last couple of years at least. And it's like, how do I be with another in a way that they feel nourished by their connection with me, and they don't feel like it's sapping their energy, or they don't want to be there. How do we create an entity together that is just feels like it sinks and there's nothing to do and it's all okay? I've made lots of those connections, and that's a totally different flavor of being with friends and romantic partners too. But yeah, lots of my friends, I feel like we're in attunement. We can navigate easily, spending time together, spending time apart as we need to, and really enjoying each other's company and understanding each other's experiences. So I've been working a lot on that, a lot more consciously. But I've been doing that through like going to workshops and studying and even facilitating workshops and reading books, and now I'm here. Well, also the other thing is I spend a lot of time with people who work on these tools and they run these workshops and stuff, and so we do a lot of this like high level relational communication, examining forensically what's happening in our interactions frequently. Like when we hang out every time, sometimes multiple times, sometimes that's even like the focus of the interaction, because it's both like an opportunity for us to get more nuanced understanding of the mechanisms of human interaction, and it's also like just a fun way to spend time together for us because we love this topic. But it's interesting when people aren't so into it. It's especially in the beginning when we're like really excited about it, and it's this particular domain that can be brought to any interaction. It's not like learning football. You can't just start playing football with your friends in a restaurant. And so it's like definitely very enthusiastic at the beginning about trying to share it and bring it to people around me in a way that's probably too much. And so that's part of the calibration, is like, oh, these tools are useful. I want to bring them to my friendships and the ones that aren't even like deeply into this work when necessary. But like finding that balance is a task that needs to be done. Where to go? Let's go. I'm gonna take you to the nest. And so here it's just something different. Here there are not really any people who have done much authentic relating or any authentic relating or circling, and these are the practices that are core to what I was just talking about. Some of them, two of the main ones in some ways. And so the people hang out here, there's some very socially skilled people and they connect really beautifully, and they don't have any of this study. You don't need this study to be, or this, like, go to these workshops to be like skilled at interacting with people. They're just like useful tools, especially for people who perhaps are like a little bit less naturally skilled in connection. Although many people I do authentic relating with and circling with are, yeah, beautiful humans who, but they're very skilled at creating environments where people around them feel really nourished and people feel very positive about those people. And so I notice here a lot of people who haven't done all this practice also have like those capabilities, and of course that's the case. Most people who are very socially skilled probably have never even studied it. But what I'm getting at is, what was I gonna say? That here I'm so impressed by, yeah, I really love the people here around me, and although they really learn a lot, like explicitly, some of them from the authentic relating workshop I ran here, and they're really noticing things about how they show up they'd like to change and grow in and notice more clearly. They also, almost all of them are just really good, skillful, they just easily connect with people. And that's the hot tub there. 16 people I think can fit in this at one time. And there's outdoor shower, very nice. Weather's beautiful. There's a little look up into the trees. I'm imagining the quality of this video is quite poor, so apologies for that. In terms of the visual framing, at the very least, and probably in terms of the rambly nature of some of my now quite long monologue. But I was just wanting to say that, so now I've been here a while, I'm like, oh, I really want to study the characters of the people here, like, and I really look at like, oh wow, why do I find how this person shows up so positive? Like, what is it about how they show up that I would like to practice? Drop my microphone. Because many people here are just very comfortable and warm, and people like to be around them, and it's beautiful to watch, and I like to be around them, and I want to be someone who's like people I want around me want to be around me, and that's not always the case. And it's interesting that I think everybody, from what I've seen in the workshop, hi. Yeah, from what I was seeing in the workshop, everyone has their own growth edges, and they're just very different. We're all different from one another, and so I just want to learn more about that as well. Really fascinated at the moment by what are all the challenges we face relationally, each as individuals, and how they differ from each other. Anyway, so that's me at the garden, and what do people do here? Some people are working on their startups. There's some quite successful entrepreneurs here. There are people working on dance. Felix runs a dance workshop 5 days a week on contact improvisation. And there's loads of people doing art and creating, and a bunch of people are volunteers here, and they're really enhancing this environment for us, making things function better and fixing it up. It's a relative new project. I believe it's 4 years old, and yeah, it's evolving constantly. And so there are volunteers here who do that. There were some paid staff, and then there are a bunch of people like me who are residents. And the residents are working on businesses, on jobs. Quite a few people here like specifically interested in AI in different ways, building AI businesses. Nobody here working on AI safety, as far as I can tell. There are a lot of people who are Israeli and Palestinian, and there's a lot of people who work around this topic of how do we, what's Palestine, Israel, and other questions of like conflict, and I've interviewed Sharon, and he will be posted on the podcast soon if he hasn't already. And there are some other people here I really want to talk to about their work, and their lives in the world, and because they're really interesting cross-cultural experiences that feel like fundamental to our species functioning better and not tearing itself apart as it could at any moment. Wild how tribal almost everyone is, and how that shows up in ways that I feel are pretty dangerous for our future. And I see another way. I just see there's a way to work through conflict and to work through our differences and come to empathy. Doesn't mean come to agreement necessarily, but we're at risk of really, as a species, coming into some serious peril soon. So this is part of why this is why it's a big part of why I'm interested in this question, is like, well, we need to be able to speak across these wild differences of ideology, seemingly wild, but they're just thoughts and ideas. People come together. Well, when people come together, they can the ideologies lose their potency, and they lose their potency increasingly as people come together more and communicate and connect. And yeah, I talk a bit about that in the interview with Sharon, so that's excellent. I definitely recommend checking that one out. And I think that might be a wrap. So this is the garden. I'm Simmo Simpson. I'm very dehydrated. I'm definitely not drinking enough water today. All the water comes from a spring, which is pretty cool. I never lived off a spring for so long. Very dehydrated. So I'm going to go and get some water and leave it there for now. Catch you on the flip side. This is Road to Connection. Hit subscribe, hit the notification bell, and leave a comment. I'd love to leave a comment. And if you like this and it seems like something that would be interesting to a friend, do share. If you think like this is not the kind of content we want, Simmo, come on, pull it together, then tell me. Tell me what you would like. And if you have any questions, hit me with those. And if any of you have stuck around this long, that'd be a miracle. So tell me if you did, and let me know what you thought. All right, I'm gonna actually end it now. So peace out. Thanks for coming on this little tour. I only showed you a part of the garden. I think we probably did half. Well, we didn't see most of the most interesting bits actually. So I showed you the most green bits, but there's like lots of stuff that's cool indoors. But for now, that's a wrap.